Every year, thousands of moving trucks leave New York State fully loaded. Not empty, not halfway, fully loaded. Furniture, boxes, entire lives packed up and headed somewhere else. South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, anywhere that isn't here. They're not all leaving because of the taxes, although the taxes don't help. They're not all leaving because of the winters, although the winters don't help either. Some of them are leaving because of specific places, specific streets, specific mornings where they looked out the window and thought, "This isn't getting better, and I can't keep waiting." This list is built on those mornings. 12 towns in New York, where the people who grew up there are gone. The people who moved there wish they hadn't, and the people who stayed will tell you, after a drink or two, exactly why the trucks keep leaving. Coming up, a city that literally demolished its own downtown to build a mall, then watched the mall fail. A small town named after an industry that died before most of its residents were born. A suburb 30 miles from Manhattan, where a school board spent a decade systematically destroying public education for children who weren't theirs, and got away with it for years. And at number 1, a city that invented modern photography, watched its entire economy collapse on camera, and somehow still hasn't developed the photos. Number 2 on this list is going to surprise you. It's not where you think it is, it's not what you think it is, but you're going to recognize the story immediately. Because you've seen it before. You just didn't know it had a zip code. Subscribe if you want to see where not to retire. Don't subscribe, and I'll assume your moving truck is already packed. Starting the countdown now. Number 12, Albion. Halfway between Niagara Falls and Rochester, on a road that exists primarily to remind you that better places are in both directions. Unemployment, 14.9%, more than 3 times the state average. Average home price, $89,529 in New York State. Road Snacks ranked it the single worst place to live in the entire Empire State. Not the most dangerous, just the most comprehensively undesirable across every metric combined. One local put it simply, "There's nothing to do unless you build snowmen, and you'd have a long drive for something fun on a Friday night." Albion earns number 12 not because it's the most broken place on this list, it's because it's the most forgotten. Number 11, Gloversville. The city is called Gloversville because it made gloves. For a century, this region produced 90% of all leather gloves sold in the United States. Then the industry died. The city kept the name. Every time anyone says Gloversville, they're announcing the loss. The tanneries also poisoned the ground, chromium, arsenic, industrial chemicals, severe enough to become a federal Superfund site. Residents lived on top of it for generations. Some still do. Poverty rate, 30%. Population declining since the 1930s. The city just keeps introducing itself by the thing it lost. Number 10, Binghamton. Binghamton calls itself the Carousel capital of the world. The carousels work perfectly. Everything else is a different story. One violent crime every single day. Property crime nearly twice the national average. But the number that defines Binghamton isn't a crime statistic. It's a date. April 3rd, 2009, when a gunman walked into the American Civic Association, an immigration center helping refugees build new lives, and killed 13 people. The deadliest mass shooting in New York State history at the time. The city was already struggling before that morning. It never fully recovered. The carousels keep spinning. There's something genuinely poetic about that, and none of it is good. Number 9, Schenectady. Schenectady called itself the city that lights and hauls the world. It was not being modest. The GE campus here once employed 40,000 people. American Locomotive Company was headquartered here. At its peak, it was one of the most industrial cities in America. Then GE left. What remained was the infrastructure of a company town without the company. Today, 806 violent crimes per 100,000, a 1 in 19 chance of becoming a crime victim. GE's global headquarters is now in Boston. The sign on the Schenectady plant still says GE. Number 8. Utica. In 1957, 3 men from Utica attended a meeting in the hamlet of Appalachian. The meeting was the national summit of the American Mafia. The New York Journal-American subsequently dubbed Utica the Sin City of the East. Not a neighborhood, the whole city. By 1959, criminal investigations produced arrests on prostitution, gambling, fraud, and conspiracy. The local newspapers won the Pulitzer Prize for public service covering it. Population has fallen from 100,000 to under 60,000. The mob left. The legacy stayed. Number 7. Niagara Falls. One of the genuine natural wonders of the world is here. The American city next to it is a masterclass in how to squander a gift. In 1969, the city demolished its own historic downtown and replaced it with a mall, a convention center, and surface parking lots. By the 1990s, all of it had failed. Population has dropped from 102,000 to 48,000. The casino era didn't save it either. The Seneca Nation stopped payments after the state violated their exclusivity agreement. By 2012, $60 million in back payments were owed to a city that couldn't afford the bill. Tourists arrive, look at the falls, and walk across to Canada, where the hotels and restaurants actually are. And that's before you mention Love Canal, the neighborhood built on a chemical waste dump that gave the country the term Superfund site. That's here too. The falls are magnificent. The city just hasn't figured out how to be worthy of them. Number 6. Troy. Troy was the 3rd largest city in New York State. That was 1860. It invented the detachable shirt collar. The American clothing industry ran through these streets. The factories helped arm the Union during the Civil War. Today, 720 violent crimes per 100,000, 30% poverty rate. What makes Troy heartbreaking is the architecture, some of the finest surviving 19th century brownstone in the Northeast. You walk these streets and see exactly what the city was. Then you notice how many of those buildings are empty. Troy has been on the verge of revival for 30 years. The announcements keep coming. The poverty rate keeps absorbing them. One former resident said Troy had everything a great city needs, except the one thing you can't manufacture: momentum. Number 5. Newburgh. George Washington headquartered here for the last year and a half of the Revolutionary War. Hasbrook House, where America effectively became a country, is still standing. 2 blocks away, there is an open-air drug market. Newburgh, population 29,000, has a violent crime rate that exceeds the South Bronx per capita. Senator Chuck Schumer called it shocking in a Senate hearing, citing shootouts in the streets and gang assaults with machetes. No grocery store, no public transportation. George Washington chose this place because it was strategic and defensible. 2 out of 3 isn't bad. Number 4, Syracuse. Syracuse was built on salt. Then the salt ran out. Then the highway planners arrived, and that's when things got truly bad. In the 1960s, Interstate 81 was routed directly through the 15th Ward, Syracuse's thriving black neighborhood. Thousands displaced, hundreds of businesses destroyed. The promised rebuilding never came. Today, the poverty rate is 31%. Child poverty is among the worst of any city in the United States. At various points, the highest concentration of poor people of any major American city. The I-81 viaduct has been debated, litigated, and delayed for years. The highway still stands. The community it destroyed is still waiting. If this is the kind of video you want more of, hit subscribe. From here on, it gets significantly worse. Number 3. Buffalo. Once the 8th largest city in the United States, larger than Dallas, larger than Seattle. Population peaked at 580,000 in 1950. Today, it is 275,000. 30% poverty rate, consistently among the most segregated cities in America. The East Side, predominantly black, has some of the lowest life expectancy and the worst school outcomes in the state. On May 14, 2022, a white supremacist drove 200 miles to a Tops supermarket on Jefferson Avenue. He chose that location specifically because it was the most racially concentrated black neighborhood he could identify. 10 people died. He had done research. The fact that Buffalo's racial geography was that visible, that legible from the outside, says everything about how deliberately the East Side was isolated. There is genuine revival in parts of Buffalo. But number 3 isn't about the new Buffalo. It's about the half that the renovation skipped. The moving trucks leaving Buffalo aren't leaving the new part. They're leaving the part nobody fixed. Number 2, East Ramapo, Spring Valley. Nobody sees this one coming. East Ramapo isn't a Rust Belt city. It has no famous crime problem, no bankruptcy filing, no collapsed factory. It's a suburban school district in Rockland County, 30 miles from Manhattan. It looks like the background of a television commercial for minivans. Starting in the mid-2000s, a block of ultra-Orthodox Jewish voters whose children attended private yeshivas took control of the public school board. Then they systematically dismantled the public school system. Hundreds of teachers laid off, sports cut, arts cut, special education slashed below federal requirements, extracurriculars gone. The students left in the public schools were overwhelmingly Black and Latino, children of Haitian and Central American immigrants, families who had moved to Rockland County for something better. The board's argument, made openly: our constituents' children don't use these schools, so these schools don't deserve full resources. The state debated for years. Parents testified. Lawsuits were filed. Eventually, a state monitor was appointed. But an entire generation of children had already gone through schools deliberately starved by people with no stake in them. This is why it's number 2. Not the worst statistics on the list, but the most deliberate betrayal. The most ordinary-looking zip code. The most invisible victims. A group of people with power decided another group of people's children didn't matter. 30 miles from Times Square. Number 1, Rochester. Rochester is number 1 because of what it was, what it became, and what it did when the cameras were pointed at it. Eastman Kodak invented roll film here, the affordable camera that made consumer photography possible. Before Kodak, photos were for professionals. After Kodak, they were for everyone. Rochester became one of the wealthiest cities per capita in America. Xerox was founded here. Bausch & Lomb was founded here. The city was so satisfied with itself, it earned the nickname Smugtown, USA in 1957. Then digital photography arrived. Kodak had actually invented the digital camera in 1975 and spent the next 25 years protecting its film business instead. By 2012, it filed for bankruptcy. 60,000 Rochester jobs became a few thousand. Xerox contracted. Bausch & Lomb was sold. Today, 29% poverty rate. Child poverty above 50%. More than half of Rochester's children live in poverty. And then there is Daniel Prude, March 23, 2020. A black man in a mental health crisis, naked in the snow. His brother called 911 for help. Police arrived, handcuffed him, put a mesh hood over his face, and pressed his head to the pavement for 2 minutes while he was already restrained. He died 7 days later. The city suppressed the footage for 5 months. The mayor knew in April. The public found out in September when the family released the video themselves. The police chief resigned. Officers were charged. The mayor lost re-election. The city that invented photography tried to prevent the world from seeing what its police had done. The city that gave everyone the ability to preserve memories spent 5 months trying to erase one. Smugtown, USA. The smug is gone. The problem stayed. 12. New York cities and towns where the gap between what this state promises and what it delivers is so wide you could fit every one of those moving trucks through it. They're already loaded. They're already leaving. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. And leave a comment with the city we left off, because there were others, and you already know which one it is.